Hey peeps, as I have been traversing through a little bit of an underworld of sorts, a catabasis, if you will, I was thinking a lot about the grieving process, which we move through during all kinds of endings, not only when someone physically passes away. So even though the physical loss of a loved one has precipitated this journey for myself, if you find your way to this video, it can be any type of ending that leads to a mourning process, end of a relationship, of a job, even a move, even a change that's chosen and is beautiful, still has a mourning period attached to it, right? And as I've been moving through this journey over the last few weeks, it's been very fascinating to see how impatient I am with myself in wanting to get right back up on the horse and move about life as if nothing has happened. And yet my body, my heart has really actually wanted to stop and to grieve through physical tears, through weeping. And there's such an interesting difference between, crying and weeping. And I always find myself completely undone by weeping because it's like, you can't stop. I'm in the grocery store crying, not hysterically crying, but just weeping. There's something very humbling about that, isn't there? And also, I think really beautiful in how the body processes our emotions, experiences, and when we are transforming or transmuting or shifting into new ways of being, there is a sense of awe that comes along with that, isn't there? And there's also a sense of frustration that can arise too. So I wanted to make this video while I was in this space, personally myself, for anyone within my community to find whenever they're personally moving through an experience of loss, of grief, of endings. And I have a small 3-card spread that you can work with this type of passage. Because, I like to bring everything back to the cards. It's a very grounding practice for me. But I would say what I've found to be most helpful and most difficult to give myself is the space to just be quiet by myself. I don't think when I was younger I understood how hard it is at certain points in life to be okay with carving out time alone for yourself when you have responsibilities and different roles to play in your life. It can feel really impossible and selfish to need to say, I can't be the person running this show right now, and I really need to just lay in bed for a day, or go to the ocean, or maybe the only thing that you could do that day was go to the grocery store, pick your child up from school. These type of experiences, again, they're humbling, and it feels almost selfish during these times, or it can feel almost selfish to give ourselves permission to do what we need to do, right? In order to honor our own grieving process. And there's always that fine line between the hermit, when we look at it as a solitude and a withdrawal for growth, or then a solitude that becomes a hiding and a means to escape and avoid the perceived possibility of pain, right? So that fine line can be difficult to judge when we are in periods of moving through grief and mourning. Is this a time to be a little bit firm with myself and push myself out of my comfort zone? Or is it a time to actually just lay down on the ground and let the Great Mother take my tears? I have found personally for myself that I tend to err on the not allowing myself the time that I need side of things. trying to push my way through things, keep the show on the road, as the saying goes. And so the last 2 weeks, it's been very difficult to just say, you know what, I actually don't have the energy to do everything I usually do, and I just kind of need to sit in between readings, in between pickups and drop-offs, and weep. And weep for, I think, predominantly what I was blessed to experience as a facilitator to someone's passing, is the profound amount of love that there is on the side of the individual who is leaving, and also the profound amount of love from the energies assisting the birth into the next realm. So if it's a physical death, you know, ancestors, beloved dead, being present to facilitate a soul's leaving of its body. If it's the ending of a relationship, it's both individuals saying that the story has reached its end, right? And our guides then holding space to usher us through to the other side of not being in that same space, right? And we could say the same thing, of course, with career or a living situation, when there's a shift and a change with that causes a grieving process. That is something that's very beautiful and reverent to experience, to behold, to get to witness. So I think I'll be forever grateful for another opportunity in my life to hold that space and to get to energetically be a part of a frequency shift, right? That's so beautiful. It's so profound. But then there is the experience of loss when we feel that something that was tangible, that we maybe always thought was going to be there, isn't there. And when we lose that tangible representation of something, we can feel a bit at sea, can't we? A bit lost, a bit anchorless, a bit without direction. And also a bit afraid that a part of us is dying too. A part of us isn't going to come back from this experience. And we aren't, right? Much like the fool embarking on his or her journey. When we finish that cycle with the world, we aren't the fool any longer, even though we become the fool again. We become a new emanation of that fool. The other storyline has reached its natural conclusion. I'm someone who likes to live within stories, and it's hard to reach the end sometimes, right? I'm someone who will put down put down the book with the last chapter left because they don't want to leave a space right away. I want another night to be in that realm before we say goodbye. So I've definitely been experiencing my own frustration with my resistance to acknowledging this ending. I would say another part of the grieving process is also honoring for yourself that you may indeed need a period of seclusion, to withdraw, to be alone, to process what are your emotions, what are others' emotions, and how you are growing and changing yourself through this experience of death and rebirth, endings and beginnings. And then there is also the beauty of finding community of those that we can reach out, or those reach out to, or those who reach out to us with a hand outstretched in love, offering support. And when we can be vulnerable enough to share from an authentic space, it becomes a gift to both and all parties. And so that is a beautiful thing as well. But it can be difficult to be vulnerable, to express, like, you know what, I just can't stop crying now. I need to cry, and I might cry in front of you. And gosh, I hate crying in front of people, so I can understand the resistance there. But there is a power to just being real and authentic with that as well. So I've been ruminating on this, and I put this spread together. I wanted to add this video to the collection on the channel. I do feel it's very important to speak truthfully to chapters in my story as well here, to share from a space of sisterhood and understanding of what it's like to maneuver through these markers in the journey, And also when we think of the Ten of Pentacles, to think of the legacy that we partake in when we are able to live our truth, and the legacy that we might be reweaving within a family line around authenticity and truth. Because I think if there is one thing that I have been privileged to see, it is that the regret at one's deathbed, or when one moves through a pivotal ending in their life, isn't, I wish I had made more money, or I wish I had had more things. But what I have seen profoundly over the last many years in this line of work is that most of all on this human journey, we regret not being vulnerable enough to share our truth with others, the way we feel about others, the way that we feel about life, the things that we have come to discover matter to us. Those are the things that we regret not sharing. And when we have the gift to leave the world in a more measured way, as the individual who just passed in my life was able to, we get to have time to express some of those things. And what I can say from witnessing this most recent passing is that when we don't say those things, that is the biggest regret. When we don't speak those truths to the people around us, when we don't follow the longing of our heart, when we don't have the courage to say sorry when we need to, or to forgive ourselves or another individual. Those are the things that when we are preparing to move from one realm to another and leave something behind, those are the things that I see we most often regret. So the beauty of being able to witness those things, those passages, is that we can sit and take stock for ourselves when we feel we have the space for that in our journey, our grieving journey of, well, what is the thing that we would do if we knew we were leaving this physical body tomorrow? What would we say? What would we express? What would we share? Who would we need to say I love you to, or I'm sorry to, or I forgive you to? So these are some things I've just been sitting with over the last few days. And I crafted this 3-card spread because I found that I was really struggling with just acknowledging how I was feeling and not needing to try to make that better or explain that away in some shape or fashion to the people around me. So this is a 3-card spread to work with whenever you are moving through an experience of mourning. I'm calling it the Burnt Flowers Falling spread after a Typo Negative song around loss. And I would encourage using a deck like the Death Doula Oracle, or one of my wonderful clients and sisters in the path just shared with me a Book of the Dead Oracle by Cilla Conway. You want to find an oracle. I would use an oracle deck for this. And you want to find an oracle deck that's loving but honest. The Faceted Garden Oracle could be a great choice as well. And I also wanted to make this spread not excessively long, because when you are moving through a period of transformation, when you're in the liminal from one way of being into the next, sometimes too much information is just too much information. It's not helpful. So this is just a 3-card spread. I have posted in the description box below the card spread itself. As always with me, cards are meant to be laid out however you would like to. And I'm absolutely fine with you working with this spread or sharing or posting about it. I just ask that you credit me for the creation of the spread if you do post and share on social media. But this is the Burnt Flowers Falling spread. Card position number 1. What am I feeling right now? Card position number 2. Why am I wanting to avoid it? And card position number 3, how can I listen or be there for this emotion and for myself. And that's what I've found the most powerful as far as takeaway from the last few weeks, is when these waves of emotion come through and they feel so overwhelming and you feel like you're never going to get away from it and you're going to have to live in it forever. And there's this desire to run that can come up, right? When we actually pivot and look at and allow ourselves to witness the emotion, not from a space of let's fix this, let's change this, but just what is it that you are? What is this emotion? And why are you coming up? And what can I do for you? This helps to shift the intensity of the tidal wave coming at you. And as you look at this feeling or emotion, as you honor it, as you take the time to be with yourself through it for however long that takes, then you see the tidal wave gentles and it becomes softer waves and softer waves. And when those waves pull out, then even though there's another group that comes through of emotions and waves to be witnessed and experienced and expressed, it doesn't feel as scary as when you're running away from it. And a spread like this can just help you to kind of anchor into, if you're not even sure how to identify what you're feeling, a spread like this can help you anchor into giving yourself presence and understanding around what you are processing. So if you are moving through a period of mourning, grief, or loss, I hope that this spread helps you. I am sending you, as always, oceans of love, and I will see you in the next video.